you and I both hear no longer recommended, you're thinking no longer needed. And that is definitely not the case.
Woodford County Public Health Director Cassie Prather says the job of her department is to prevent illness through providing vaccines. She says the change in vaccine recommendations may leave many parents feeling overwhelmed with decisions about which vaccines their child needs. On Monday, U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a well-known vaccine skeptic, released new guidelines based on what he says was a lengthy review and says the new recommendations better align the U.S. with other countries that require fewer shots.
Those recommendations were based on pathogens that we were seeing in the United States or typically see in the United States.
Prather says vaccines don't guarantee people won't get sick, but they may help to make symptoms milder, reduce hospitalizations, and eventually eradicate deadly illnesses.
Parents these days haven't seen smallpox, polio. They don't know what that looks like. They've lived in a world where those things didn't exist because of vaccination.
Aviv Brockman says his family will follow the number of recommended vaccines in place before Monday's announcement. He says following the recommendations and research by medical professionals and scientists make him feel secure bringing his 3-year-old son to the park.
I mean, I think at least most of the people that I interact with are vaccinated. That makes me feel good. I don't want my son getting measles. I don't want to be part of a measles epidemic or anything like that.
Prather recommends parents continue to have open conversations with their child's medical provider for the best recommendation. Madison Carmouche, WKY.